Hi, everybody. Alan Arnett here, and I am extremely pleased and excited to invite you to join me on a new podcast series I call Everyday Everest. It follows a group of 9 climbers from around the world. They travel from their homes to Kathmandu and then trekking through the Khumbu to the Everest Base Camp, through the rotations, and finally on their summit bid back down and back home. It's a series that I wrote back in 2020 when both sides of Everest was closed due to COVID. I've updated the story and I'm excited to share it with you now in an audio form. It's been on my website for a few years, but I thought after last year's narratives that I did, I got such positive reactions that this would be a good follow on to that. So this is a complement to the coverage that I'm doing on a regular basis throughout the season of the real climbers. But this fictitious one is based upon my experiences on Everest and Lhotse and covering both mountains and all the other 8,000 mountains for a couple of decades. So I'm excited to invite you to join along with me. It'll be on the same channels, podcast channels, and YouTube that you get for other podcasts. And subscribe and join. Enjoy. Here's chapter 1. Chapter 1, Leaving Home. The kids are in bed. The house is quiet. Now's the time. Honey, I want to talk to you, Harper said in a soft voice. Sure, let's sit on the couch, Mark responded, expecting a discussion about one of their children's homework. Holding his hand, Harper looked in his eyes and said, I'm going to climb Everest. He fought to hold on to his emotions. He knew of his wife's love of the mountains before they were married. Harper had climbed Rainier in her early 20s, Aconcagua in her 30s, and then Denali. Harper was good. Harper was safe. She's a natural. But Everest, the highest, Everest, where people die every year, he fought to hold on. Harper squeezed his hand gently yet firmly. You know, I've always dreamed of this. The kids are in a good place. We are in a good place. We have the money, and I have the time off work. He interrupted. You had already talked to your boss, he said defensively. No, not yet, but I know I can get it. I wanted to talk to you first before anyone. Mark relaxed as she smiled. Her job as a vice president for a software company paid well, but it was demanding, and Everest was expensive. She traveled extensively. Mark ran his consulting business out of their house. He had the flexibility to take care of their kids and joked that he would make more trips to school, swimming, for soccer than for work. They were happy. That night, they crawled into bed, a king-size bed. He flops around a lot. They had their usual hug and goodnight kiss before rolling on their sides, facing away from each other. As Harper laid with her eyes wide open, she felt him move closer. Yes, yes, I support you in your dream. Harper didn't need his permission. She needed her husband's support. The next year was a whirlwind. She trained like there was no tomorrow. He picked up the kids from school while she ran laps up the local hill. It's time, H, he said as the alarm clock rolled over to 4 a.m. Thanks, honey, she said, along with a kiss. She dressed quickly and went out for her morning run. She gave him a long kiss when she came home after a workout with her trainer. Mark cooked endless chicken breast. They changed her diet to include more protein. She was building the muscles that she would need to climb Everest. She was already in the best shape of her life, but she had to work harder to be in what her trainer termed Everest shape. Mark supported her fully, including reluctantly to remove their beloved wine collection to support her training. But this climb was about them, not him, not her. Each night before they committed to their sleep, yet still uncertain about their bargain. Her training and preparation had become her second job. Combined with their travel, Harper was not home as much as before. He missed his wife. That Christmas, Harper took her time to look around the table. She lifted a glass of wine, an exception during this Christmas holiday, and made a toast. To my dear family, thank you for your love and support. I vow to do my best, but most of all, I vow to return home. She looked across the table at him. She looked at her children, pausing to take in a deep breath. Kids, I want to tell you something. The duffel bags took up most of their room in their Ford SUV. Mark drove Harper as she carried on the usual conversations with her kids. They had seen their mom leaving a lot of business trips. Okay, you guys behave while I'm gone, okay? I want you to be good for your dad, okay? I'll call you as much as I can. But remember what I told you about satellite phones. Remember? Okay. Tears welled up as Harper quickly looked away, avoiding eye contact. She squeezed Mark's hand tightly. He squeezed back and glanced at her. The night before they talked like they had never really talked before. The tears came and flowed freely. No pretense, no tough guy, no tough gal. Real people, real emotions, brutal honesty. Honey, if something happens, he stopped her. Nothing will happen, I'm sure of that. Yes, but if something does happen, her voice trailed off. Harper was very thorough. She assigned all the forms, all the legal papers, every contingency was covered. She thought about the entire expedition from home to the summit to home. She had every base covered, except for the unexpected and what could occur out of her control. The hugs at the airport were long. The parking police came over, but unexpectedly left as they witnessed the scene. Harper's children looked at her. I love you, Mom. Olivia could barely get the words out, tears rolling down her 14-year-old face. I love you too, sweetie. Mommy will be home soon, Harper said. Jay, remember how we discussed you'd be good for Dad, okay? She said to her 12-year-old. Harper broke the hugs, knowing that she could never really let go. With the kids in the back of the SUV, Mark looked deeply and lovingly into his wife's eyes, her soul, her essence. Harper looked back. The embrace was long, it was strong, it was full of love. Nothing was left unsaid. Flying at the Summit of Everest, Chapter 2. Chapter 2, Flying at the Summit of Everest. Everyday Everest, Chapter 2, Flying at the Summit of Everest. All Harper saw were clouds out the airplane window, big, puffy, white clouds and the occasional dark one harboring turbulence. She closed her eyes as the plane crossed the line between day and night, but sleep was elusive. Even the upgrade to the comfortable business class seat was not helping. Something was on her mind. Am I ready? She thought to herself. Harper sent the deposit to Mount Everest Guides a year ago. It was a lot of money. Her family had made significant sacrifices for her to go on this trip. No vacation for 2 years, putting off a new car again. She negotiated with her boss for 2 months off, and then there was a preparation. While she loved to go on big climbs, knowing that Everest was her dream, Harper took the advice of people who had done it and climbed some of the world's highest peaks to gain experience. In 2015, she summited Kilimanjaro. The next year, Aconcagua, the highest peak in South America at almost 7,000 meters. And last year in 2023, she climbed Denali. That one was hard for her because she had to pull a 60-pound sled with another 60 pounds in her backpack. She made it, but it tested her physical strength. Harper wanted to climb Choyu or Manaslu to get the experience of the 8,000-meter mountain and see how her body would perform at extreme altitudes, but time and money prevented that. It's always time and money. But was her work now going to be enough? Harper pondered her chances as she finally drifted off to sleep. Last year was a tough year on Everest. 19 people died. The most were termed preventable deaths. Low-cost operators offering climbs for under $30,000 had attracted a new demographic of climbers. Many lacked experience at high altitudes and in some cases necessary climbing skills. With so many people on the mountain, there was a shortage of qualified Sherpa guides. That combination contributed to an indefensible situation when between the Hillary Step and the summit on the Nepal side, a long line of climbers queued up and went viral. Harper was committed not to be one of those climbers who held everyone up. She would step aside and let others pass if she got too tired. With a sharp twitch in her leg, she sprang back to consciousness. She had been asleep for just 2 hours. The flight attendant came by with a light lunch before landing in Istanbul. Harper was looking forward to this connection because the airport's legendary Turkish Air business class lounge. The layover was swift, only 3 hours, but an upgrade did not come through for the Kathmandu leg, so she spent 5 hours and 20 minutes in coach. Given that she would land at 3:40 a.m., she would sleep right away anyway. Halfway through the flight, she woke up and glanced at the in-flight map on the monitor in her seat back. Rubbing her eyes, she was unsure what to see. Altitude, 29,035 feet. She was flying at the summit of Mount Everest. Chapter 3, Hello, Kathmandu. The lumbering 777 bounced to the lumbering 777 bounced in the new Tribhuvan. Chapter 3, Hello, Kathmandu. The lumbering 777 bounced on the new Tribhuvan airport in Kathmandu. The brakes working hard to stop the 500,000-pound flying machine from slowing down from 172 miles per hour. Peering out the small airplane windows, Harper saw the brick airport terminal. Multiple planes from around the world were parked outside the terminal's glass doors. When the flight crew opened the jet door, the fuselage became engulfed in warm, moist air. She looked at the airport. Walking down the portable stairs, she saw a monkey resting comfortably on the terminal roof. Stepping onto the tarmac, Harper paused and glanced around. The ground crew hurried to get everyone on a bus for the 100-foot drive to the terminal. With a quarter of the plane on the bus, it took a full 30 seconds to drive from the building, where they shuffled off and began navigating the long halls toward the customs room. Inside a large wood-paneled square room, a row of desks occupied the right side. The Visa on Demand booth directly in front and several standing up writing desks hugged the wall to the left, where passengers filled out the forms. Do you have a pen? Harper heard over and over. She had registered for her visa on the Nepal tourism site, but still had to pay $125 for a 90-day visa. Sensing a herd mentality from her fellow 348 passengers, she went directly to the booth. It took only a few minutes, and then she went to the passport desk. Harper felt nervous when she stood in a Disneyland-like winding line for her turn. Are you trekking? A man said with a strong Dutch accent behind her, casually staring at her trekking shoes. He had his mountaineering boots slung over his left shoulder. He wanted to avoid the excess luggage fees by carrying them on and not checking the heavy boots. His 70-liter backpack on his back appeared to be full. Harper turned around to see a tall man, maybe 6'6" with a head of blonde curly hair that flowed over his shoulders. No, I'm climbing, Harper replied in a friendly tone. Hey, us too, said a young man standing next to what appeared to be his girlfriend. What are you climbing? Everest? Asked the young woman with a sly grin on her face. Why, yes, Harper replied. I am too, said the curly blonde. We are too, said the boyfriend. Who with? Harper said in amazement, thinking that what a small world this was. Mount Everest Guides. I'm Harper, she said. I'm Pablo, and this is my girlfriend, Claudia. Nice to meet you. The polite young man said, I'm Dies from Utrecht in the Netherlands, but you can call me Dutch. It's easier. No one can pronounce the Dutch words, not even the Dutch, he said with a smile and a twinkle in his eyes. Harper liked Dutch immediately, even though he was still taking inventory of her. And with that, Harper had met 3 of her teammates standing in line to get into Nepal. The emotionless immigration agent took her precise 2-inch by 2-inch black and white photo and her newly issued 90-day visa paperwork as she slid them through the gray tray underneath the smudged glass barrier. He pulled the documents onto his desk and flipped through his passport until he found a blank page. With overriding authority, as if he was making a statement, he slammed the chrome rubber stamp with vigor onto her passport, declaring without words that Harper had followed all the rules and now officially could stay in Nepal for 90 days. He pushed the passport and a pile of other papers back through the slot, never making eye contact. This process would be the last semblance of rule she would witness in this mountain kingdom. As she walked by, he glanced up. Welcome to Nepal. I hope you enjoy your stay. Harper went through a giant x-ray machine and put her small backpack through another device. Deep in conversation, the operators didn't even notice the images on the security monitors. Down the escalator, Harper entered the baggage retrieval area. Dating back to the 1990s, Tribhuvan had a few updates. The impoverished country struggled to generate income for its people. Many worked in faraway places, sending remittances back monthly. Tourism industry was crucial. Hundreds of passengers jostled for position near the 3 baggage carousels. She navigated the crowds to find the luggage cart and wheeled it to carousel number 1. The belt bounced up and down as the heavy bag stressed its capacity. With a groan, the belt stopped and the passengers let out a similar groan. With no motion for 15 minutes, Harper and her fellow teammates made small talk while keeping one eye on the little half door that led to the tarmac. Harper fidgeted as her wedding ring went, while putting positive energy into the room. She was anxious to buy an in-cell SIM for her iPhone and call home. Harper already missed her kids and Mark. At last, a long, creaky blast broke her concentration as the belt started back up. Her North Face yellow duffel parted the heavy rubber straps and entered the hall. "There's mine," Harper blurted out to no one. Her forehead creased as she waited for the next one. Each of the four climbers waited patiently for their bags, helped each one wrestle their 60-pound beast onto their carts. Leaving the stifling hall, they went through another unstaffed X-ray station and walked outside the airport terminal. For the first time, Harper felt she was really in Nepal. Over 100 men dressed in long pants and light short-sleeved shirts held up signs. Each sign had the name of a hotel, a tour operator, or a person's name. "There it is, Mount Everest Guides," Pablo called out while holding Claudia's hand. With a huge grin and a brown-skinned tan man with dark hair, exceptionally white teeth, approached them along the long rail. "Namaste, I'm Dawa. I'll be one of your many climbing Sherpas to help you climb Mount Everest." Chapter 4, Kathmandu. Another Sherpa appeared along with several young men who grabbed their luggage carts. They wrestled the unwieldy contraptions across the airport parking lot toward a small van. The engine was running and the air conditioner was blasting away. "Follow me to the car," Dawa said with the group. Harper's ears picked up on the Sherpa's voice, hearing a Sherpa's voice for the first time. She liked the musical tone of his accent. Dutch, Claudia, and Pablo followed her as the boys started to pack the bags into the tiny space in the back of the van. They piled into 2 rows behind the driver while Dawa took the passenger seat. Everyone was quiet, absorbed in the moment. Leaving the airport, they passed a concrete arch marking the entrance and turned right on the Kathmandu's main road, the Ring Road. Traffic was heavy, cars weaving in and out, but a mass of scooters occupied most of the pavement. Shops filled with colorful merchandise, food, language schools, and tour agencies lined the streets. Suddenly, the van moved to the right lane, dodging a mature cow chewing on her cud. Harper turned her head to verify what she had just seen. Yes, a cow, seemingly at peace, was just in the middle of a congested road chewing her cud. Harper looked at Claudia, and they both let out a giggle. Dutch was busy texting on his phone. The driver turned left onto a narrow dirt road, the nondescript buildings blending homes and businesses. They all looked the same. A few minutes later, he turned back onto a paved road. "Shortcut," Dawa said, glancing over his shoulder, revealing what they would come to call his Everest smile. There were more twists and turns and down another narrow road past a money changer shop. The exchange rate was written in chalk on the board: $1 for 129.1 Nepal rupees, and 14 other currencies. The van eased up to the door at the Hotel Kathmandu. The hotel was off the main streets in a quieter part of town, but well away from Tamel's often noisy and crowded touristy area. A man in a uniform greeted them. "Welcome," he said with sincerity. "Please come in. We'll take care of your luggage." They moved as a small cloud into the hotel lobby. The walkway was divided into 2 sitting areas with comfortable couches and stuffed chairs surrounded by fresh plants. The check-in desk, a mahogany-covered 2-sided structure, holds another man dressed in a white shirt, black tie, and a dark suit coat. He instantly smiles as Dawa approaches him. "Namaste and welcome back, Mr. Dawa," the gentleman offered. "Namaste. We have the first of our Mount Everest Guides group to arrive. The rest will come later today." Harper handed over her passport, but the process was unclear. "Here are your keys. Let's meet for lunch at noon," Dawa said as he handed out the keys. Harper had a single room. The couple shared another, and Dutch, still holding onto his climbing boots, would share with another teammate once he arrived. The bags had all disappeared, carried up by a small army of hotel porters. Harper admired the Tibetan rugs on the floor and the Portola Palace painting hanging on the wall, and a portrait of His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama. Looking at her key as she started climbing the stairs, she would be in room 404. Kathmandu is at 4,593 feet. Harper lived at 466 feet back home in St. Louis. After 2 flights of stairs, Harper noticed her heart rate beating a little faster. She was a bit out of breath. "Oh my," she began to tease herself. Turning the corner on her room, Harper noticed a poster hanging on the wall. Something about it captured her eye, the signature at the bottom. Stopping in the middle of the hallway, Harper studied them carefully and then read aloud, "Rob Hall." Ed Viesturs, Oscar Kilborg, Mickey Rooseveldt, Carlos Carsola. An avid aficionado of climbing history, Harper had the book Hall and Ball, Kiwi Mountaineers from Mount Cook to Everest, the history of Adventure Consultants, founders Rob Hall and Gary Ball. Pioneers of the commercial mountaineering guiding, they both died in the mountains. Ball died on K2 in 1992 and Hall on Everest in 1996. Of course, Viesturs was an American mountaineering legend, becoming the first and only American to have summited all 14 of the 8,000 meter peaks without using supplemental oxygen. Kilborg and Rooseveldt were the first Swedes to summit Everest back in 1990. And Carsola set a Lhotse speed record in 1994 with a climb of 23 hours and 50 minutes from base camp to the summit. Opening the door of room 404, Harper found her two yellow duffel bags sitting next to a small desk. Two neatly made up twin beds hugged the walls to her right. Simple curtains blocked the sunlight. She walked over and pulled back the curtains, and she sat on the bed. Rob Hall, Ed Viesturs. Her voice trailed off. Harper thought about all the history and the legends before her, and she would attempt Everest, the world's highest peak, to climb with the climbing Sherpas, share in the camaraderie and teamwork of an 8,000 meter expedition. Of the 4,346 different foreigners who had summited Everest, only 630 women are on that list. Harper wanted to join them. She wanted to be the first from her hometown to summit Everest, but she also wanted to make her mother even more proud of her. Tired from her travels, she flopped over. She closed her eyes, ready to take a nap. A knock on the door. Hello, hello, time for lunch.